Welcome back, everybody, to another video. Today is going to be a little bit of more of like a talking about video. But before we get into that, I have a few announcements to make. One of my announcements is that you can now check me out on Facebook. It's a group, and you can send photos of old school hunting and fishing stuff if you have the same love of it as I do. You can go in there, chat about things, chat about old hunting, old fishing lures, whatever it is. But I'll leave the link in the description for you to check it out. But today's video is going to be talking about a lure brand that is still around today. It has never been unpopular in its life. Everybody's used it, and it's still going strong today. The lure brand we're going to talk about is the old Culprit that everybody knows, and it's your grandpa probably fished with. One of my viewers suggested that I would make a video about Culprit. I have a few Culprit baits and one that is very interesting that I've never seen before. And today we're just going to talk about them. I don't know the exact date of some of them. I know that they're definitely probably 80s, 90s. But we're going to start off with the first bait. First one is your typical 4-inch Culprit. This is the original Culprit worm. And red shad. This is like definitely an 80s package. Or late 80s with, your typical Culprit worm, red shad, in 4-inch. This has no other writing on it. You just hear that brittleness. It's a smaller package that definitely holds a lot of worms. Just your smaller package of red shad. Definitely a very popular color of Culprit. I'm seeing a lot. Every time I've seen gold Culprit worms, they always have the old red shad. And yeah, that's the first one. The second one is a very interesting one. Well, kind of. The old Culprit 4-inch. But a little bit odder of a bag style. It's just like these, but this one's like a little bit, it's getting in the 90s probably, early 90s. And it has a feeding supplement, longer, harder strikes. It's a 4-inch in red shad. And it actually has writing on the back. Talks about how you rig it, your typical Texas rig, if you want to look at that. There's not much special about your typical Culprits. If you fished with them before, you probably know. And another bag of them that I have is one of the most weirdest ones. I believe this is like getting later into the Culprit line, getting mid-90s. Very interesting package. It's in like a motor oil color, but it has no other writing on it. Says it's Culprit. Very weird style bag, more of a tougher bag too. Very interesting. But this is the one I very like. This is the most interesting one of packs of Culprits I have. You may know the old Culprit sticky worm, which is a piece of Velcro on a soft plastic worm, which is supposed to grab a hold of the fish's mouth better. Definitely don't have one of those. But if I did, I would definitely show them off in this video. But the pack I'm talking about is the old Culprit Creepy Critter. This is one of the most interesting soft plastics by Culprit. Pumpkin seed. But the weird thing is, let's see if I can get them open. It's like a crawl. It's a crawl but it's not a crawl. It's more like reminds me of a scorpion almost. I don't know. That's what it just reminds me of. Very interesting bait. You're supposed to fish these with a jig. I did rig these up with a weedless jig head, vintage one. Definitely give it that old school style. But now, inside this old tackle box is one more old vintage culprit worm. Inside this tackle box is definitely a lot of lures, but especially in this one is just one more culprit worm I wanted to show. Because, it's in here. This old culprit 4-inch and like a weird color. And by the way, do anybody know what brand of buzzbait is this? It's an old school buzzbait, indented black eyeball with like a clear green 3-bladed buzzer. Don't know what brand this is. I've searched and searched and I still can't find it. Super interesting bait. But now that is it of the culprits. Over the last few days, I went on a trip for a tournament. And when I was going on the trip, I did make a few old school fishing finds. I talked to a buddy of mine who I've seen a couple times, and he's selling his bunch of his collection. And it's always a treat to go up there and get the chance to go check it out. He's selling his old reel collection, and I was excited to go back because I know I would get really good deals and really good reels. One of them being a reel that I have never really seen before, well, in ads, but it's a very well-made reel. The old Shimano Magnum Light BGX 1550SG with graphite components. This reel is a very well-made reel. Partly metal body. It's got a flap. You could check the inside. It's got like your old flipping button, like most of old reels did. It's got more like that play in the back. It's got your old brakes. I love this reel. I had to get it. I love these old, especially Bantam Shimano reels like this that are made with metal, which is usually very well made. Very awesome reel right there. Another reel I got was one I had to get. I've been searching for one and I finally got the chance to get it. And that being the old Daiwa HT1000 reel. Rigged up on my old Daiwa Apollo rod. This reel is definitely one I'd come home with that metal body. It's got like this gold drag system. Your dial, it's got your brakes. It's got an old auto cast like a lot of the old Daiwa bait casters. It's a very well made Daiwa reel. Definitely one on my list and definitely one I had to pick up. The next reel is a reel my brother's been searching for. It's been on his list. It is the more older school Lew's Browning. Yeah, you definitely don't see a lot of these on YouTube, people talking about, and especially getting up close looks at. This is the original version of the Lew's Browning. It's got a very different emblem. I know it's got the Browning sign, but it doesn't have like that plastic layering over top. Like that gloss, but it's like more, it's more like very well made. It's got an aftermarket reel handle. It's an old hog handler reel handle. And it says Browning Let me get around here. Lou Speedspool BB1NG Browning. This is definitely a more good Lou's reel. This was getting towards the breaks when they started making the other ones. And it is on an old Bass Pro Shop micro light rod with a Pro Guard finish. And there's a few more old school fishing stuff that was picked up on this trip. This next reel was another one my brother was looking out for. It is the old Shimano Bantam BMP 250 SM Mark Plus Speedmaster. It's more of a plastic reel, but that does not matter to its throwing abilities and catching abilities. This reel is a very nice reel. If it's not metal, it's got your brakes. It's a very well-made Shimano reel. Shimano was very good at making well-made reels. It's got your drag, it's got your typical handles, and it's on an old Berkeley lightning rod. Well, crankbaiting rod, like a lot of the old rods back then. And there's one more fishing find found on this trip. This was something I was not expecting to get. The guy, we were talking about old school fishing stuff, and he showed me this, and he said he doesn't know what year it's from, what it is. He just bought it. It's an old dealer's tray, and he asked me, how much do you think it's worth? I said like $100 some because the thing is like brand new. He said, no, I would never give it to somebody. And then he handed it to me and said, you can have it for $10. I was like, what? Some people have already made videos about it, but haven't really thoroughly shown off the dealer tray. It's very obscured bait. It's a man who is a part of the Member Fishing Hall of Fame. He's not really that known, but you should know him now. Butch Harris's Professional Bass Worms. Some of your YouTubers that you probably watch you do old school lures have talked about Butch Harris's, like his old crankbaits, and some them fishing with his old worms. But some people that you probably have never seen is the dealer tray in person. Well, in video, I actually looked. Butch Harris, I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. He wasn't really a big fisherman. He was more in the wrestling department. But fishing was just one of his hobbies that he used to do on his spare time. Making this lure is the only color of it. It's 3 in a pack. They're super long. And they're only in this color, this green, like gummy worm color. They come in all these packs. I mean, none of these were tore off. They're all there. That's Butch Harris right there. And underneath of these, yeah, you can't really see it. It says, another Butch Harris product has gone to the honey hole. That's what it says underneath all these. This is definitely one I was not expecting to pick up. And this is definitely an old school 70s fishing find of the trip. But there's one more thing I need to show off in this video. Something I picked up a few days ago. We were going to pawn shops and I was not expecting to pick this up for $20. I believe it's a combo. It's on a vintage Bass Pro Shop Graphite 96. It's an old Abu Garcia Ambassador Ultra Mag XL Plus. This reel was definitely a little dirty, but came in and cleaned it off. It's definitely got your wear and tear. But this is definitely an old school Abu Garcia. This is when they started saying Abu Garcia, I believe, like late 80s or early 80s, I meant. In like late 70s, they started putting Abu Garcia before they started going to their traditional Abu Garcia. I mean, if you go on YouTube and look at old magazines of Bass Pro Shop catalogs and stuff, this reel, I believe, is in some of them. I believe this is a combo. See how this thing is. And a very interesting thing about it is if you press this button, twist it, it takes off to show the magnets, and it's an easier way to get your spool out. And it clicks right back into place. Very hefty reel. This is just like the Bass Pro Shop rod I just showed you, but it's a longer, more stiffer rod. It's called the Graphite 96 with Pro Guard finish. Same rod, just a more bigger boy rod. And that concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video about Culprit. And, well, there's a little bit of Butch Harris history. But I hope you enjoyed the video overall. Remember to check me out on Facebook. And leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next one.